The learning never, ever stops. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But first, welcome to the VO Huddle. My name is Mike Hathcote, and every morning we jump on here real quick to give you a little bit of a bite-sized nugget to help you in your voiceover business. Don't forget to grab, if you haven't already, grab my book bundle for less than $10, where you get the ebook, the digital or the audiobook, as well as 4 free gifts in the link below, and chime in on the shout out list so I can shout you out here in a few minutes where you're watching from. And of course, as always, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We sure appreciate it. We're marching towards 85,000 subscribers. So getting there a little bit every time. So we'd appreciate that as well. All right, let's talk about learning. And in VO and in life, really, the learning never stops, or it shouldn't stop. If you stop learning, you stop living. So at the beginning of your voiceover journey, there's obviously going to be a lot more to learn. Just like with any other endeavor, if you're starting out, there's a lot more to learn. And, we talk occasionally about the success cycle and how at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot to kind of hack through and figure out. But then after a while, if you keep that learning process, it starts to become repetitious, and then you can get into a zone basically, and then it's just smooth sailing. Now, after a while, though, there still is some, let's call it regular maintenance and upkeep, kind of like a classic car, right? At the beginning, you learn, you have a lot to learn, but then after a while, you just have to, learn a little bit as you go, or a little bit more as you go, kind of like just continued education, right? Doctors do it, once they're out of medical school, it's not like they don't have to attend any classes anymore. There's always something new that they need to learn. Same goes for this. So you're always kind of learning the new thing that you need to know to keep yourself in the game. And that's the reason why I do this every morning, is to give you a little bit of information to kind of help you just have that little extra that'll get you further down the road. Um, I've been doing this since 1995. So that's 30 years this year. And I still learn new things because there's always something new to learn. I'm not so full of myself to think that I know it all and that there's nothing new that I can't learn. And I wouldn't trust a coach or an advisor who thinks otherwise. If somebody kind of comes across as I know it all, and you know they're the guru on the mountain, that's a red flag. So I can learn new stuff. You can learn new stuff. We can all learn new stuff. Um, there are still times when I reach out to a trusted colleague or a coach to help me with my own business, to tighten the screws. And it's mostly about performance, because we can get into a rut and we can kind of ingrain bad habits. And it's always good to kind of try to break out of that as much as you can. So if there's ever a time when, I need a new demo, or I just feel like I need to, sharpen the saw a little bit, I'll reach out to a coach and get some help. Um, so, and by the way, it always pays me back, and then some whenever I do that. So the learning is continuous. Um, so invest in yourself, invest in your learning, and your business will be better for it. Period. So speaking of learning, this coming Tuesday night, a week from yesterday, is this month's live expert training webinar, and that is yours truly taking it back to basics. Whether you're brand new at this or you're a veteran, there's always some new thing that you might have missed that will help you get to that next level. So that's what we're going to talk about. The basics, the fundamentals, the foundational stuff that you need to have in place, whether you're new or not, to actually make your business do its thing. As I said, it's this coming Tuesday, the 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is going to be pre-recorded, or not I always say that. It's going to be recorded. How can you pre-record something that hasn't happened yet? It's going to be recorded, and it's going to be available for playback. And also, we're giving away a seat as usual. So if you sign up, there's a chance that you will win a free seat to it and you'll get a refund. So that'll be happening on Monday. I'll draw for the winner of that. So yeah, and obviously we're keeping the price low this time since it's me teaching it and we're not bringing in an outside expert. So there you go. And by the way, this is completely different. This is a pronunciation issue. I had a client send a file back to me today asking me to redo a different pronunciation of the word processes. So how do you say the word processes? Do you say processes or processes? It's one of those words that goes both ways or can go both ways. Um, I always say processes unless someone tells me otherwise, which is what they want. They want processes. But it's just like the word analysis. The plural of analysis is analyses. The plural of process is processes. That's just the way it is. But some people, they want it said the other way. So how do you say it? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, now let's see who's in today and where you're watching from. There's old Sean from Longview, first one in today. Ding, ding, ding. And there's Jason from Kearney, Nebraska. And there's David from Hamilton, Ontario, and Mark from Montreal. And there's Wayne from Port Orchard, Washington. And Ron from Grand Haven, Michigan. And Edward from Jacksonville, Florida. And Jim the Ripper from Southern South Carolina. There's Kirk, afternoon, from Greenville, South Carolina. And Charlie from Sparta, Wisconsin. Good morning to you. And Maria, spoke to her yesterday from Rhode Island. She's a brand new blueprinter, and we got her onboarded, and she's ready to rock. And there's Dennis from Pasadena. Good morning to you. And Tracy from Rochester. There's Doug McGraw from Greensboro, North Carolina. And John in Denver. Good morning to you, sir. And there's Theo from Palos Hills, Illinois. See, I got it that time. Happy Wednesday to you. And there's Andrew from Latvia. Good morning. There's Jay checking in from Covington, Georgia. Ricardo from Cape Town, South Africa. Good morning. There's Becky. Good morning. This Michigander checking in from White Tank Mountain National Park here in beautiful Arizona. Me and Becky and my wife and her husband got together last night for a quick little bite to eat at Torchy's Tacos. It was great. Good seeing you face to face, Becky. Enjoyed it. Kenny says, I'm not sure on what the next step to learn is. Kind of stuck on what step 2 is. How do I keep up with the industry, as an example? Well, that's exactly kind of the thing we're going to discuss on Tuesday night. A lot of people can get into that analysis paralysis where you like I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what that next step is. So at the end of this class that we're going to do on Tuesday, we always have a Q&A session where, you can fire away on any questions you have and we can discuss maybe what your next step is. I mean, I don't know what you've done up until now, so we would need to know that to figure out what your next step is, but there's always a next step. And some of these basic foundational things, there could be something in there that you accidentally skipped. And maybe that's going to lead you to that next step. So you never know. There's Kate from Marietta, Georgia. If you're not learning, you get stagnant and thus get left behind. 100%. That's a good way of putting that, Kate. Thank you. There's Grady in Ithaca. Looking forward to your call later today. Yeah, Grady is another blueprinter. Just started. We're going to do our onboarding call today to make sure that you're off on the right foot. So yeah, looking forward to that. I believe that's at 1:30 my time. So I'll see you this afternoon, Grady. Happy and Joyful says, what a great attitude, Mike. Hello from sunny Florida. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And there's Nephi from Knoxville, Tennessee. Rocky Top. Theo says, for me, it's process Processes. Okay, processes. So the other way. Wayne says processes. Yep. Huh. Thea also says, I also pronounce it to myself. Are you freaking kidding me? There's Alex from Utah and Muhammad from Bosnia. There's Terry from Falston, Maryland. He says, yes, I'm a lifelong learner too. That's a mouthful. Wayne says, also like the word crises for multiple moments of crisis. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, crises, processes, analyses, that's the proper way to say it. But sometimes people want to say it the other way. So you have to put it back. Because remember, the customer's always right. Tracy says, Torchy's Tacos in Oklahoma. No, I'm in Arizona. I believe they're based out of Texas, though. At least that's what my wife, when she went to grad school in Texas, they had them there, and she discovered it there. But they've recently come to Arizona, so we hit up Torchy's last night. There's Eddie from San Antonio, Texas. Ricardo says the only thing you'll ever need to know is what to do next. You got that right. Edward says analysis paralysis. Yes, been there, done that, right? Absolutely. Maybe it's analyses paralyses. How about that? If you get into analyses paralyses, then you might run into some crises. I don't know where my brain went on that one. There's Gretchen from Indianapolis. Good to see you this morning. Dennis says, like Theo, I say processes. Okay. So how do you say analysis? Do you say analysises? That's because that's kind of the same thing, right? Or crises, multiple crises and analysises. By the way, this is a little tip for you on social media. A lot of people wonder what they can post on social media for content because it's not always about, posting work that you've done or a demo. One of the things that I post, if those of you who follow me on social media, you'll see that I post a how do you say it thing where there's a word and there's a multiple ways of saying it. So for instance, I think the last one I did was the word integral. Some people say integral and some people say integral, right? And so it can go both ways. Same way with data and data. I say data, other people say data. Sometimes it's a regional thing, sometimes it's how you were brought up or whatever. But yeah, data, analyses, lots of different variables out there. All right. Anything else, guys, before we hop off of here? Today, luckily, I've got a little bit of a lighter day today. And of course, as soon as I say that, I'll start getting bombarded, which admittedly is a good problem to have, but it's also nice to kind of have a breather. So, looking forward to a little bit of slowness today just to kind of catch my breath. All right. Well, guys, I will see you tomorrow for Thursday, our Thursday edition of the Voiceover Huddle, and appreciate you being here once again. And until then, break a lip. Talk to you soon.